Hello, my name's Sammy, aka 4-String Boy, and this is the Flight 4SB Baritone. Hello, we're basically just over a week of celebrating the 4SB's first birthday. And what better way to overshadow that with sibling rivalry by bringing in a brand new model of a baritone size. Those of you that know me as a ukulele player will know that I split my time pretty much between playing high G tenor ukuleles and then linear tuned baritones, and that's where I get my low fix from. Now, me and Daddy Primos from Flight have been talking since last November about the possibility of a baritone model being released. First of all, we just wanted to see what the reaction was to the initial 4SB and the tenor size. And thankfully, because it was so overwhelmingly positive, Flight were like, that's cool, let's make another size. And the most obvious size for me was going to be a baritone. Now, its official name is the 4SB Baritone, but me and Juliana have been basically referring to it as the 4SBB for like the past, since the start of this year, basically. It's been the 4SBB, which for me does stand for 4SB Baritone, but also stands for the 4S Big Boy. So whatever you want to call it, the 4SBB or the 4SB Baritone, I don't mind. Call it whatever you want. Now, I was very cheeky and actually did post a big spoiler of this coming up on my socials. Here's the photo that I released. And so there we go. You can clearly see in that photo is the 4SBB. Okay, it might look like the Flight Mini Bass, but if we zoom in a little bit, and then a little bit more, there we go. See, clear as day. So you can thank me for that extra little spoiler pic that I took for you. You're very welcome. Now, quick life update just before we kick off, because I haven't sat down and done a review for a good few months now. And that's because I've been enjoying festival season. Hooray! Now, as you know, at the end of July, I was in the UK for the Ukulele Festival of Great Britain, and that was fantastic. Then I came home and had to prepare for two more festivals, and that was Dutch Ukulele Day, which took place in September, early September. And then I was in the US for the first time ever to play at the Los Angeles Ukulele Festival as well. I have one more trip planned, and that is to the Southern Ukulele Store on October the 26th. And that's because they are hosting a Flight Ukulele Day where I'll be performing and teaching alongside some other lovely, lovely boys such as Danny Osero, Tyler, who's you might know him as 10 Thumbs on YouTube, and then, of course, Mr. Southern Ukulele Store himself, Alex Beds. If you're in the UK, feel free to come down to Bournemouth. That's October the 26th. And like I said, come say hello to all of us, but also just come and have a touch and a feel of all the lovely, delicious ukuleles that the Southern Ukulele Store has. Now, I've also picked up recently two electric models from Flight, and that is the Flight Pathfinder, all steel strings, all electric, and also the Flight Mini JB Bass, and that was from Southern Ukulele Store. It's in this lovely silver, I think it's called Moonburst finish that they've got. I've been having a little play with those. In honesty, I haven't had a lot of time to play with them. So if you want to see reviews of these two bad boys, then I suggest subscribe. Don't miss out. Okay, so back to the big boy. We're going to talk about all the specs. We're going to have a little listen to some sound samples. And also we're going to pit it against what has been my main baritone for the last few years, which is the Flight Aurora, a baritone that has very similar specs to this kid. So we're going to test them out and see how they sound versus one another. So for the baritone model, we actually decided to keep everything that made the 4SB special for you and for me, and basically try and whack that into a Flight baritone-sized body. So size-wise is going to be exactly the same as your typical Flight baritone, such as the Aurora or the Fireball. Okay, so to start off, we have that solid spruce top, dyed the blackest black again, and we have a solid rosewood body in a gloss finish. To contrast versus that black, we have the spalted maple sound hole ring thing with a matching spalted maple bindings across the body, and then the same cutaway that we saw on the 4SB, also in spalted maple. We have a rosewood pin bridge with black bridge pins and a bone saddle. We have the usual Flight neck, which is a rosewood fretboard. The neck is made of African mahogany in a nice satin finish. And we have 19 frets, the 38mm nut, and the fret markers are on the 5, 7, 12, 15 and 17, and they're basically exactly the same as the 4SB tenor, design and all. Now, if you're wondering about the design of the fret markers and why the 5, 7, and 12 are separate, it's basically because I use natural harmonics a lot in my playing, and so basically that's just to make it much easier for me to have a look and kind of tick them off. So 5, 7, and 12 are where your natural harmonics sit on the fretboard, and I just want them basically pointed out much easier for me so I can't screw it up. We have open gear tuners in black and gold with a Flight open style headstock that I love very much, and that's had a slab of spalted maple just to match with the bindings. If you saw the 4SB, then you'll know that my signature is actually hidden on the back of the headstock. For this one, I actually redid the signature with basically a thicker pen, so it kind of sticks out a bit more. A few people said that it looked like I'd scribbled my signature in biro on the 4SB, so this time it just looks like I've scribbled my signature, but with a Sharpie instead. This uke will come with a standard Flight padded Baritone gig bag, as you can see here, but the gig bag with the retail models will be in complete black, just like the 4SB tenor. Unfortunately, I don't have a black one, and that's literally because I've had this baritone before the bags were finished. So as soon as they're finished, I'll get my hands on one, but imagine this bag, but all in black. And if you want to have a look at that, just go look at the 4SB tenor gig bag. Now, yay or nay, but again, with this model, there is no pickup included. And again, that's a personal choice because for me, pickups are a very personal thing, and I think that buying a ukulele with a pickup is cool, but often if you're into pickups and you know your pickups, then you know what pickups you like, and so you know what pickup you want to have installed. So basically, rather than paying extra for a pickup, having it removed, I'd rather it the other way, keeping it acoustic, and then if you want a pickup, you can choose your own pickup that you love and have that installed. If you're eagle-eyed, you'll see that my model does actually have the double pickup that is standard across all the Flights. But again, that's because I requested it, because when I play live, I'm always playing plugged in, and I do that often. So I need the pickup. That's why it's there. So design-wise, if we have a look at it versus the 4SB tenor, you'll see that it looks exactly the same, but it's just bigger. That's literally it. It's just a bigger version of the 4SB tenor. If you haven't heard me talk about all the design aspects and basically why I picked them, how I picked them, why I wanted what, then you can go check out the video here, which is basically my original review of my original model, the 4SB tenor. I talk about all the design process in that, and basically that's just been copy and pasted for this big boy. Now here is the 4SBB versus the Flight Aurora baritone, just so you can see that the body size is the same, and we have that typical like big bottom that we have on Flight baritones, and that's what I kind of love about the size. Now I believe this is the first Flight baritone with this style of cutaway. The other Flight baritones, such as the Aurora and the Fireball, use the scoop cutaway that they use on all of the tenors, but here we go, we have the same cutaway that I used on the 4SB. I think it does the same job, but it just makes it stand out way more. And like I said, the contrast between the spalted maple and the black, I'm a big fan of that. So the more spalted maple I could get, the better. I've got to say, I'm really, really happy with how all the design turned out, like on the baritone, because obviously sometimes when you amplify things up, it doesn't always work. But I've got to say, it really does, and basically a bigger, blacker surface is my bag. So I'm so happy with it, and I think it looks even nicer than the tenor model. Now, as for strings, Flight always ship out their Flight baritones with exactly the same string set. I think it's a Diodario set, but it might also be a Flight custom set. But basically, we're going to have 2 wound for the D and G, and then 2 nylon or fluorocarbon, I can't remember, for the B and the E. Now, I've said this on pretty much every baritone review, but these strings on a baritone, I'm not a fan of just because they're too soft for me, that's all. Strings are a real personal thing, right? So there's no good or bad. It's just whatever you like the sound of and what you like the feel of. So for me, I end up using my Uke Logic set. And this is a hard tension baritone set with a smooth wound D, which is 0.35 mil, and then a smooth wound gold G, which is 0.3 mil. They're wound, so they're metal, but basically they're smooth wound, so it means you get less squeak out of them. And like I said, I now have these pretty much on all my baritones. They're my favorite set of strings. Right, let's now go listen to some sound samples from the 4SBB. Just like the 4SB, I think this is going to take a little while to open up. The 4SB took a good couple of months for the kind of sound to open up a bit more, and I'm going to expect the exact same from this girl too. Now, the only other pure solid wood baritone that Flight have is the Flight Fireball. I've played one of these. I played one a couple of weeks ago when I was playing at the Dutch Uke Day. But I've met one before. It's a beautiful sounding baritone. Now, the thing is, the baritone Fireball is just like the tenor Fireball. So they're both made out of 100% mango. And so that means it's going to sound pretty much exactly the opposite of the 4SBB. And actually, the Fireball was my original inspiration for the 4SB. The Fireball was my main ukulele from Flight for a very, very, very long time. And basically, I adore the sound of the mango and everything, but occasionally, because of my harmonics, I wanted something a bit louder and a bit brighter. And so I designed the 4SB to be basically the yang to whatever the yin is of the Fireball. So the two are fantastic ukuleles, but they kind of don't compete with each other because they sound vastly different. And so that's going to be exactly the same when we compare the 4SBB to the Fireball baritone also. So a better comparison would be versus the Flight Aurora baritone, which has been my main baritone and the baritone that I've used on my album. And I've had that for a good couple of years now. Now, it's similarly spec'd to the 4SBB, as in it has a solid spruce top and it has rosewood back and sides. But on the Aurora, they are laminate rosewood back and sides, whereas on the 4SBB, we're talking solid rosewood back and sides. So, as a similar spec, I think it would be good to listen to the 4SBB and the Aurora back to back. I've got exactly the same set of strings on both, so you're just literally going to hear the difference in the woods. And there we have it. That was the Aurora versus the 4SBB. Let me know how that comes across for you in the comments, okay? Always it's hard to capture these things. Sammy doesn't have the best microphone, but I'm really interested to hear what you think. If you want to hear my personal opinions, basically, you know, sat with the ukes and everything. The Aurora, I know very, very, very well. Like I said, I've owned it for 2 years. I can't remember. But basically, ever since it came out, I've owned this ukulele. And like I said, I've used it live. I played it on my album. I know the sound of the Aurora. I know how it feels. So playing it back to back versus the 4SBB, sound-wise, the Aurora is brighter. It definitely comes as brighter, but almost a little bit more brash. And definitely, basically, a lot thinner. The 4SBB isn't as bright as the Aurora. Like I said, I expect the woods to open up and that change a bit, but the depth that we're getting from the solid rosewood is a different story. That depth kind of brings a warmth, especially with the low tuning of the baritone, and it's the same way that I felt whenever I first picked up the Fireball baritone as well. They just have a nice warm kind of depth to them, like a chocolatey kind of weird warmth like that. So there we have it. Another year, another 4SB. Maybe we continue this tradition. Soprano next year? Thank you so much for listening to me today, and thanks for letting me show off the new addition to the 4SB family, the 4SB baritone. As I said, I'll be back with more reviews real soon, so please make sure you're subscribed just to keep up to date with everything. And if there are any particular flight models that you'd like to hear me play, review, talk about, compare, anything like that, always let me know in the comments. Big love and catch you all soon.